Hi, welcome back. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. This should be a relatively quick video here. I just want to go over some changes I've made and then talk about what this video is really about. Uh, One thing that I've done is I've been facing a guy named Mox Nix. He's playing a hardcore combo deck, which has got many anti-control elements like Pyroblast and Thoughtseize and things of that nature in the deck, and it also plays blue, so he has his own counter spells. Having faced him enough, I've realized that my counter density was not high enough. So to fix that, I took out Ponder and Preordain. I'll have to rely on Stoic, excuse me, I'll have to rely on Dissolve and Condescend to pull a similar task while also giving me additional protection. And I increased the cheap counter spells in the form of Stoic Rebuttal, potentially, being a 2-mana counter, and Deprive, which will consistently be a 2-mana counter. The one trick with Deprive, though, is that unlike Khalni Gem, you can't play it with an empty board, a board of no lands. But otherwise, the pick up a land drawback can frequently be an advantage in this deck, thanks to Land Tax, Tithe, Scrollrack, Brainstorm, Jace, and things of that nature. So anyway, the main reason why I want to make this video, which is only going to be one game and relatively quick, is that it was a game against MG Nicholas, who was my 1,800th Commander opponent. I played 1,800 Commander games online. So occasionally I get people who complain about my deck. And suggest that it's just a matter of buying all the expensive restricted cards and putting them in a deck and then trying to win with it. That's actually often a good idea as a starting point, but actually it's this 1,800 games here which has actually smoothed the deck out quite a bit, as well as the incredible brain power of my testing partner, Mr. Brian Weissman, who, if you recognize the name, is the creator of the deck, the most famous control deck in history. When you have power like that on your side, it's very easy to get extremely high win percentages, as you can see here. Done pretty well, not even counting the times I've just given up because I have something else to do, or my opponent's AFK, or whatever. Very high win percentages, even when I'm testing the deck frequently. So in this game, I did happen to go first, and it's going to be mostly a blowout, I think, but hopefully you'll be entertained anyway. So my opponent is playing what? Janara, and I've got a Laurel. So I've got a crazy hand. There's a potential for a turn 2 Jace here, so it's really tempting to run out first turn Scrubland so that I could Vampiric Tutor for something like, say, Dark Tutelage, and then drop that on turn 2, which would be a very reasonable play. But I wanted to go for the turn 2 Jace instead, load a Ancient Tomb onto a Signet, and then if I top deck any blue source here, then any blue land, then I've got turn 2 Jace, and that's definitely one of the strongest initial plays that you can make. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, so now I have to go with a backup plan. His first turn was suspending an Ancestral Vision, so we'll see if that becomes relevant at all this game. Followed by a turn 2 Temple of Mystery. So he's developing incredibly slowly. He's got a Ponder or a Preordain there to hopefully help him speed up a little bit. I mean, it's not like his draw is bad, it's just that mine is extremely good. So here's the deal. I want to get maximum value out of my next turn. I want to really develop and put out threats so that by the time we get to Ancestral's resolution phase, like the turn when it's going to deploy, he'll already be in a fight with me over my development, and then I can fight with him over the Ancestral. And currently, I have no counter spells at all. So it's kind of a game plan. Obviously, I'm anticipating Jason can fix that, especially with the higher volume. So for the viewers, I recommend you pause the video and figure out what I'm going to get, or just watch. And this is what I chose. Khalni Gem. It's It's interesting how often I actually tutor to this card. It comes up more frequently than I ever expected. Here it's because it allows me to double tap Ancient Tomb and produces 2 blue, which means I go right into Jace mode. Plus, it lets me Jace then lets me dump the scrubland back into the deck for the Tithe to go fetch, depending on what I get. So that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. So I put scrubland down with the Tithe on top of it. So his visions is at 2 now. And just kind of keep an eye on that. And I figured, you know, now he's kind of stuck because he can't really play his commander. I'm just going to bounce it. That would be a terrible waste of a turn for him. So, in fact, just about any 3-drop creature would be a waste of a turn. He's got to answer it, and he's in a conundrum. So, if you're him, do you take out the Jace and leave me with 2, 3, 4, 5, and you know I have a land in hand, or you know he thinks I do, so that would be 6 mana. Do you leave me with 6 mana and including a very powerful artifact here? Or do you take out the gem, leave me with the Jace, and hope that I just can't find blue even though I'll be brainstorming every turn? Or maybe it just doesn't matter what you do. Maybe there's no right answer here. But between the two, I think probably smoking the Jace is right, just because in green and white he's got multiple ways to kill artifacts potentially, I presume. So it's much harder for him to take out a Jace. So I think he makes the right call there. But this hand is so good, it's probably not going to matter. So I know for sure I'm going to be spending my mana, so I use Azorius Signet's filtering properties to go ahead and cast the Tithe with mana floating. And then I get double blue because I always try to get, even though it's a little bit of a risk, if he kills this, I don't have black. Right now, my hand doesn't suggest that I need black, and it's better to develop with islands for future Vedalken Shackles. So anyway, this curves out perfectly into Sol Ring without having to tap a second land, which is fantastic. So that way I'll have 100% untapped at the end of, or at the beginning of my next turn, with the option of Mystical Tutoring right now, if I so desire. And if he had played a tap land there, or missed a land drop, or excuse me, if he had tapped out, then I would have tutored for Mind Twist here and went ahead and just broke his back that way. But because he did not, yeah, because I would have gone and fetched a Mind Twist, and then I would have hit him with a light Mind Twist, and then followed up with a Cryptic countering this and bouncing the Detention Sphere, giving me a couple of turns with the orb before he can replay it. It'd be pretty nasty for him. But because he didn't, and I now have to potentially play around like a counterspell here, I don't Mystical Tutor. And then I draw a Demonic, so that kind of like, it kind of changes things for me because I have to decide like how do I want to, I'm sorry, how do I want to kind of play here? Do I want to take a chance and run into a counter? There's only a handful you can have. You could have Memory Lapse. The worst one would be Negate, or he could have Mana Leak. He could have Remand. But I mean, out of all of them, definitely the worst one is Negate because it's a hard counter. Lapse would give me a chance, or Remand, both to replay it, and Mana Leak only hurts me if I don't have enough mana to pay for the leak, but I'm pretty flush. So what I do is I just declare my attack phase and end it, just in case through the course of this turn a mana drain makes its way into my hand. There's no reason to do this prior to combat. So after thinking about it, I decided that the play is float a bunch of mana and then cast Teferi. So I was leaving 2 black in my pool. My plan was to Demonic Tutor and then Teferi and untap a bunch of lands. I was going to Demonic Tutor for a counter spell at that point, and then just sit behind 2 counters and then fight with him on Ancestral Visions during his upkeep with 2 counter spells to do it. But he does have a counter spell. However, it's Mana Leak. I don't think I agree with him playing Mana Leak here. I think that's probably pretty bad. He just double Stone Rained himself and Duressed himself for a Mana Leak. all to make me tap a land that's going to untap in just a second. So double Stone Ring to rest yourself, probably not the play. But since he's all tapped out, might as well go ahead and throw down a Karn, and hey, might as well go ahead and throw down a Jace. So on this turn I played, if you're counting, Teferi, Karn, and Jace, while tapping both of his lands and making him discard a card, and in the face of that, he doesn't even let me get my cards. He just gives up. And I agree. There's nothing Ancestral Vision can do to get him out of this situation. Like this is pretty nearly as game over as it can get. Maybe thinking about it really hard. Like the only thing he could possibly do would have to be to just draw an absolutely insane hand with like he would have to draw, say, Ancient Tomb, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, tap it all, and then Cyclonic Rift, fully powered Cyclonic Rift. Like that'd be the only possible way you could get out of all this. And even then, I don't know. It might just be stalling. So anyway, he gives up, and that was my 1800th game, resulting in a win, which was cool. So again, here's the deck list. And I appreciate everybody who's been watching. Thank you for your help, Brian, and I'm looking forward to another 1800 games, perhaps. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.